Call this regular council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Brandon, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd remain standing for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the beautiful weather and our long Labor Day weekend. And we ask, Lord, that you bestow your blessings on both school districts as we start a new school year. Lord, we ask that you grant comfort to the Bailey family and to Licking Heights Nation, our community as a whole. We ask that you comfort those grieving families in Texas and that help and relief can come quickly to those in the Bahamas. And we ask for all of this tonight in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Kathy, roll, please. Here. 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 Here.
Here.
Okay. Here. Here. Okay, we have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight is citizens' comments, and we have a few guests that will have speak first before we get into the regular citizens' comments so that they can come and go. So first up tonight on the agenda is Jude Hampshire from Explore Licking County. Hi, Jude.
Hi there.
Judy Hampshire, 13318 Havens Corner Road. Here in Pataskala. I come a couple times a year to talk to you guys about the board I'm on representing the city called Explore Licking County. And every year at the end of the year, we have an award ceremony that I try desperately to win an award at, but have not yet succeeded. So I'd like to invite everybody here. There is invite for each of you. I would love to have a whole section of Pataskala people sometime. People will know it's us by how we dress and how we speak and how we carry ourselves, but I think it would be great to have a whole section. I even have a Pataskala sash and a tiara, which I gave to myself, that I can wear if it draws more attention to us. So it's a great group. It's really fun. We're way over here on the edge of the county, so anything we can do to draw attention to ourselves is great. And so I made an invitation for each of you. I have not yet gotten a guest from this group, although I almost got one last year.
Yes, almost.
Right down to the last minute. I invite a variety of people from Licking County. I think last year I invited 58 people. Of those 58 invites, my husband and two of my sons came with me. So it would be nice if I could have all of you there. It would be very great to have a showing like that. I don't see any other city that has a showing like that, and I'd love for it to be us. So I have an invitation for each of you. Also, they passed out buttons at our last meeting, so I grabbed one for everybody. You can have a button and an invitation. So I'll start with you, my friend, and you can pass them on around. And if anybody has any questions, I put my email address on there, and you can just email me, but I think everybody has my email address and my phone number. And I would like to call up the Executive Director of Explore Licking County. He has something for the mayor. Dan Motor, he's our leader.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Do you need my address and all that? I don't know how this works.
Just for the record, name and address, yeah.
I'm Dan Motor, 258 Hall Street, Newark.
Thank you.
Welcome.
As Jude mentioned, I am Dan Motor. I'm Executive Director of Explore Licking County, which really, if you don't know, is the county's Convention of Visitors Bureau. So we promote everything within the 700 square mile list of Licking County. It's a good job, and we appreciate, Mayor, your giving us Jude. She's sort of known to us, and we appreciate that. She definitely represents the city well. I come bearing a gift for you this evening, Mayor. I heard through the grapevine that you really enjoyed the Pataskala ad that we ran in our travel magazine last year. So our creative director thought we needed this for your office.
Thank you.
Jude did a lot of work on this for us, and Jude came forward with the idea that there is only one Pataskala in the entire world. And we sort of ran with that. It's actually on page 29 of our travel.
It's a great ad. Yep.
It's actually Melissa Carter's idea. I have kind of a little focus group that I go to, and I'll start including more of you on it, because I know you like to hear from me, right, BJ? You love my email.
Simple idea.
So, yeah, I got some ideas. One of my sons put in some good ideas, and the mayor put in an idea, and I put in an idea, and Melissa put in an idea. And shockingly, they chose hers, not mine. But, so I have made her a little picture. Never thought to do it this grandly, but.
So I will, can I bring this to you, Mayor?
Yes, thank you.
On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff of Explore Licking County. Thank you for
Mayor. Well, Dan, I have to say, first of all, I'm sure glad you changed the name a couple of years ago.
So are we.
I think that opened up a whole lot of doors, and then, of course, getting Jude in there and what you've done, and I love taking the book. In fact, I took 1,000 books to Swappers Day this weekend and gave them out to all those folks. So it's a great little book, and we got to get more of Pataskal in there. So thank you and thank you.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to quickly say while I was still out that my son is made a brief stop back from the Navy. He's in nuclear engineering school there. BJ, you know him from when he did his Eagle project. And he's home for a couple days because they got evacuated in South Carolina. So he joined me tonight and in uniform. So
Thank
Great.
you.
Awesome.
nice to have a task.
Could you stand up, sir, so we can recognize you for your service? Been recently married. You can stand up too.
She's also fantastic.
Congratulations. All right.
So if anybody ever has any ideas or anything they want me to present at the board, I'm not afraid to raise my hand, not afraid to make a motion there.
Sorry, ma'am, your 5 minutes are up.
Oh,
Sorry,
jeez.
I'm at 10.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so if anybody ever has any ideas, don't be afraid to bring them to my attention, because I'm not afraid to bring them to somebody else's attention. And I will give you credit for them eventually.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Jude.
Thank you. Thank you.
And again, don't feel like you got to stay. It's going to be a long one, so thank you very much. Enjoy your family tonight. Okay, on to interviews. We'll start first with the Oak Meadow Drive Sidewalk Assessment Equalization Board. BJ, how many folks did we have apply for that?
We need to fill 3 spots. So far, we've had 1 apply.
Okay, so should we go ahead with the interview? And
I would
then-
go ahead with the interview, but hold off until, right now, the re-advertisement has another round of interviews for the September 16th meeting. But I'd say with the one that has applied, go ahead with the interviews, and then assume we'll make the appointments at the meeting on the 16th.
Can I have the clipboard, please?
Yeah.
Right. And I was talking, council, I was talking to BJ earlier, and I think we're going to, I've reached out to some more people, and I think we're going to re-advertise for the Senior Citizen Board. I still need a person for there, and I also need an alternate for the Transportation Board, just an alternate. Mr. Zetz feels that that could even be the same person, since there wouldn't be really any conflict of interest on either one of those. An alternate's an alternate. If Brandon can't go to the meeting, he would just fill in. So I think we can re-advertise, please, and then interviews at what's our next meeting, the 16th?
Yeah, I'd say interviews for those also on September 16th.
So spread the word. We still need 2 for the Equalization Board,
Correct.
an alternate for Transportation, and a Senior Citizen Liaison for the county. So,
And we have the 2 vacant positions on the Records Commission. We received 2 applicants, and those will be
those are tonight.
correct.
Very good. Okay, and was it Mariah that had put in for the equalization?
Should be Butler, isn't it? Ms. Butler?
Okay.
Emily Butler.
Emily?
Okay. There you go. I don't need the gavel. I'm just trying to introduce. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. All right.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one applicant for the the Oak Meadow Sidewalk Assessment Equalization Board, and that is Emily Butler. I believe she's here, so. Ms.
Hi,
Butler, if you
Emily.
come on up, just come out to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, please, and council probably have some questions.
Great. My name is Emily Butler. I'm at 7357 Summit Road Southwest, Nashville.
I'm assuming everyone got her resume. Okay, great. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, why you want to be on the board, and I'm sure council will have questions. Thank you.
Sure. So I am a recent new resident of Petoskala. I've been here for about 2 months now. Sorry for anyone that drove by and saw all the trees in my front yard. That was the result of in-laws, but it's all taken care of now. So I am originally from Warren County, which is in southwest Ohio, a little rural town called Laurel. I grew up going to city council meetings with my parents, and we're actually in a township, so we'd go to those too. So I've always been involved in the local community where I live, and that's something that I want to continue to do here and get involved as soon as possible. I just moved here from an apartment in Hilliard, and I'm really excited to have somewhere with roots where I'm going to be hopefully indefinitely. And I saw this position open, and I was excited that it was an opportunity to hopefully get involved early. And no offense, but I was really excited to see that I was the only one that applied. Because it shows it even more that I want to be here. I am here. I read my resume, but that helps, right? But I want to be involved in the community. Petoskala, it's really cool that it's the only Petoskala in the world. And I want to be involved. I want to hear people's concerns and help in any way that I can. And I know that sounds cliche, but I'm an involved person. And if I can be involved and be a part of the community, that's what I'm going to do it. So this would just be an early step for me to be able to do that.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Hicken?
Welcome. Thank you very much for applying. I saw that recently you've taken the Bar Association Leadership Academy course, and I was just gonna. I didn't see how that relates to your current job. What is your current job? Just so everybody knows.
I'm currently an attorney at the law firm of Brocious, Johnson & Griggs. I do a lot of real estate development law, condominium law, and then also local government law, as Mr. Betts knows. We work with a lot of townships in central Ohio. And the Leadership Academy, I mean, it helps in my current job having connections and I mean, I think at any time that you have the opportunity to hone leadership skills, I think that that's helpful, whether that's getting involved in the community and that way, or, we work with township officials, and it's helpful to learn how different people will come at different leadership opportunities or issues confronting leadership. I also am just a natural leader. I've had a lot of people invest in me throughout my life, whether it was the Anthony Munoz Leadership Foundation I was involved in as a student athlete in high school, through the OSBA's Leadership Academy. So that's something that's important to me.
And some training as a hearing officer as well.
Yes,
So.
as you all saw, I worked and work now as a hearing officer for one of the local townships for the red light cameras, and that is not to speak on what I think of them or anything, but it's legal and you do your job. And so I have been in a situation where people are very upset and it comes out on you, and you get yelled at a lot. So, but my leadership training has also helped me realize that it's not me that they're mad at, it's the situation, and it helps me take the criticism in stride.
Good training for any public service.
Welcome. How many committees can you serve on?
What do you need? I'm here now.
Mayor? I don't really have a question. I just want to, the fact that you've been here for 2 months speaks highly of your interest in getting involved. So I just appreciate you being here, and I'm impressed and look forward to getting to know you. Thank you.
Mr. Walter, please.
Just a quick question on the issue that would be in front of you with this appointment. Have you done any type of, well, do you know of anything in the past, or especially in Pataskala, but do you know anything about this situation regarding the Oak Meadow sidewalk/bike trail?
So I only know what I've been able to read about online through Pataskala's posting or the local news stations. I know that they're already delayed, from what I understand, in installing it, and that people are facing assessments to their properties based on the type of path that's put in, whether that's the sidewalk or the asphalt path. And I know that some people are not happy about it, and I would assume that some people aren't going to be happy about having assessments. However, I understand that close where the road is, you're close to downtown Pataskala, and so having a walking path, I'm sure, would be important, or maybe not, for some of the people that live in that area. I tried to find as much as I could about it, and I drove down the road, but unfortunately, there isn't a lot out there. But thankfully, I would be sitting on the board of people coming in to tell me a lot about it, I'm sure. So I'm confident I'd be able to learn that.
Just as a follow-up, you haven't spoken to any of the residents in that area?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody have any questions? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathy, we did not, that was the only applicant we had, right? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Right. Okay, now we'll move on to Records Commission applications, and I believe this is mayoral.
This is mayoral,
So
correct.
I'm going to call each person up, and we need
whatever you want.
2 people for Records Commission. So obviously, I'd just like to hear some input from them, and obviously I'll be, unless there's some, after they speak, if there's any objections, I'll be putting both of these folks on Records Commission. They're needed badly to make sure that we have a quorum, and disposing of records is extremely important, legally and otherwise. So we'll start tonight with, let's see, I'll just go down to the first name on the list. Mariah. Vanessa Mariah Del Mendo Moore, is that right?
I apologize for that name.
That's quite all right.
You can call me Mariah.
Okay, very good.
Mariah Delmino Moore, 272 Essex Place, Pataskala, Ohio.
Okay. And why would you like to get on Records Commission?
Well, I've been here since 2004.
Mhm.
I've had 5 kids graduate from and many of them
Sorry.
No, it's all good. In my professional field, I do a lot of records and compliance.
Okay.
I do it every day, and when I saw that there was an opening, I thought, what better way to give back to my community? We only do it a couple times a year.
Right.
Why not?
Yep.
So here I am.
And in the future, I mean, yes, Records Commission only meets twice a year unless something were to come up and we would need that. But have you any interest in something beyond Records Commission?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Any way that I can serve the community.
Because we tell people, this, if you want to learn about the city, you've got to start somewhere. And even though it's a small position, only meeting twice a year, it is important. And it does lead to, when council recognizes the name and have seen the work that you've done, that's helpful in other positions as.
Oh, absolutely. I'm totally open for any of
Very good. Any questions from council?
No.
Yes, sir.
I would echo the mayor's statement that this is a great stepping stone in, and excited to hear you about that. I think from looking at your resume and knowing all the things you need to do to keep track of HEPA, or was that the right term? HIPAA, records and such. I'm excited to have somebody on there that understands that. In fact, our other applicant as well, I'm sure has to deal with records in a regular manner. So I'm really excited, and thank you very much for applying.
Anything else? So just remember, if you were ever to make it to council, I don't know if we can put Vanessa Mariah Del Mendo Moore on one of these little tags.
Mariah Moore will
Okay,
work.
all right. Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Yep.
Tell all your kids I said hi.
I will.
All of them.
Okay, and I do believe Mr. Timothy Bush is next. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Timothy Bush, 455 Broadview Court, wonderful task force. First say I love your porch pics. I have an amazing back porch pic, but I can't. I see the deer go through the field there in Foundation Park every night. I go out there in the middle of the night, stare at the stars and everything. And it's not a good picture photograph-wise, but it's just absolutely beautiful. I'm very, very blessed. I have the luxury of knowing Miss Hayes very well also. I believe,
I have his son this year.
yeah, my oldest
Sorry.
son graduated in 17, and she has my fifth grader right now. So awesome.
Okay. Reason you're applying for Records Commission?
Well, to start out, I think you made a good point about it being a stepping stone. West Virginia. I transplanted up here in '94, and I made home here in 2014. I'm very glad I did. And I always believe in giving back to the community. As a kid, I was very fortunate. I got to help Archmore, and if anybody knows it, Donna Bowley. I had a chance to get involved a little bit as a kid, and we're talking between 6 and 12 years old, and it felt really good to help out.
Good.
And the records piece of it attracted me quite a bit. As he stated, Mr. Hicken there, I stated, at work I deal with OSHA, I deal with the Department of Health or the U.S. Department of Labor, so managing, certain records from the longevity perspective, and then also from the privacy end of it, as you stated around HIPAA, we have, certainly people that work for us that have disabilities and such, and understanding the privacy with those people, records, and finally, and legally, it's important that they're handled the right way. I feel that I have a very good balance with me, being a personal person from West Virginia, and also my education. I have a double degree in business, focusing in human resource management. So, I'm really proud of that. That was the first. Great. So,
Very good.
I really want to help out the community. I want to get involved. I want to learn a little bit more about the task force from a financial and, just the organizational aspect of it. And, I saw it as an opportunity. Hey, here's a chance to do it.
And as I said before, this is a great stepping stone. We've all said that. So if you have the time, we need the people. So I appreciate that. Any questions? Okay. Well,
No.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You made it easy for me.
Thank you.
So, I just make a motion later, or ask for a motion, or?
It's mayoral appointment, so
You can anoint and you're done.
Okay. Do I swear these
This-
folks in?
Yes.
Is this a swear-in?
It
part?
is a
Okay.
swearing.
Okay, so, thank you for applying. You both have the job.
Congratulations.
Since there was 2 openings, there's 2 positions, and at our first Records Commission meeting is when?
Our next Records Commission meeting will be prior to our next council meeting.
Okay. So we'll make sure that, do you already have all of their information from their applications?
Yes.
Okay. Kathy will be contacting you, and at the, whatever time that meeting is set, let's say 6 o'clock, let's show up, if that's just theoretically, just show up a half hour earlier. If you want to bring family and friends, I'll go ahead and swear you in. And we'll have all the paperwork, and then we'll do our first Records Commission meeting, okay? All right.
Thank you.
Try my best to remember all of your names. Vanessa, right?
Vanessa Mariah Domingo Moore.
Yes, that.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
don't feel like you have to stay for the rest.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thank you of the night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take me.
BJ, nice to meet you.
Likewise, we'll see you. Take care.
Is that set for the 16th?
Well, we're waiting to see what committee meetings we're coming
Yeah,
up.
she hadn't said it. Okay, that's like I'm nervous. I checked it wasn't on our calendar.
Very good.
We had a special earlier, and this would be our second regular
She'll send that
meeting for
invite
the
to
year.
us.
You'll send that invite to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And then, will Jess make up the certificates, or does Kathy do that for those folks?
Either or, they'll be ready.
Okay,
Yeah, they'll be ready.
all right. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, on to regular citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight? Name and address, please, and you have 5 minutes.
Lee Guttentag, 280 Charles Road, Hospital. Misbehaving paper clips.
Thank you, Lee.
I think I have enough.
Thank you. I got two here.
Believe me. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So, I didn't attend the last meeting, mainly because I thought we were headed off to the BZA meeting. But I did hear that there was a nice journey and a bunch of people supporting the Bullet Ranch. And I appreciate that they're there, and I appreciate how much they liked it. But this isn't about liking the Bullet Ranch. This is about noise. And they can say all they want, but the truth be told, they go home to their quiet houses. Almost the entire weekend, we had to listen for hours upon hours of shooting. And the gentleman who spoke upon our block, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of a block joke. He can't hear. He has a horrible hearing problem, and he'll tell everybody that. And his wife did sign my petition in the beginning because she can hear. So, I have a couple questions. Number one, I thought last time I was here, I think it was 2 meetings ago, that it was said that they were supposed to go and try to get a permit. And they were gonna go against the BZA, and that's what I was waiting for. I haven't heard anything, so I had a nice call in to Scott. Scott told me I'm crazy, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about, Lee. That's not how this is gonna go. And then I found out that, interestingly enough, that, well, it was announced from Steve that he had talked 2 years ago to Scott, and Scott said that he wasn't supposed to do anything. So now I'm starting to wonder what's going on here, guys. I mean, I didn't want to be here in front of you guys again. But since we are, we got a couple things interesting, and that's what I sent you out. Let's go to the document marked Ohio Administrative Code. And if you want to skim it, in accordance with the revised code, blah, 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 and this is what you need to keep the liability, we'll skip paragraph 2, we'll get there in a minute. Third paragraph, unacceptable if the sound levels exceed 90 decibels for 1 hour out of 24 hours, and the sound measuring receiver is located at the boundaries of the range. Well, I tested this, and guess what? For those of you who don't know what 90 decibels is, I have a chart, that's about a lawnmower. Guns are about 165. They're over it, I was in an adjacent property. They cannot, with how narrow their property is, because it says they're testing the boundaries, at this juncture, past this. Now, if we want to play again, middle paragraph. Private and public shooting ranges in Ohio should substantially comply with the listed noise levels that are set to prevent hearing damage and eliminate noise complaints. Noise and sound guidances are described in great detail in the NRA source book. I bought and read this lovely 600-page manual. Might I say it was really enjoyable. First paragraph. Prior to the site selection, decisions must be made based on, I didn't bring my glasses, sorry, on previously stated alternatives. Remember, do not attempt to force a facility on a site. Rather, find, evaluate, select a site in those criteria. That's what we got here. They bought a land, it says specifically. You might have visions of the ultimate range, only to find during planning phases the parcel's inadequate. Well, this is what we got going here. One of the things that it states is property values should be considered, especially in areas with urban growth. Escalating property values make it impossible to locate it in an area. I will skip the section that they have to pass on the EPA for now, because I'm on a time limit, and the containment. And we're going to get to sound transmission. This is where it gets interesting, because they can't pass this. No set distance eliminates noise complaints entirely. However, studies conducted by the EPA indicate noise complaints notion that you're building far away and people are encroaching on you as the boat place because no one would actually build it. And the last one that's pretty interesting is, it says, residential areas shown on county comprehensive plans, aerial photographs should be plotted of people, blah, blah, blah. And where residents in the range are less than 1/2 a mile apart from the range. And then it goes on for all different suppression, et cetera. It also states that it should be conceived all ranges as noise parks and what it should do around residential areas. So my point is, they cannot pass this, which is what the Ohio Administrative Code says. And if you do not pass it, I give you your nice little immunity doc. Therefore, they will not be immune to any of the suppression or the complies, and therefore they are responsible for all noise rules and substantial damages, including health. And I had given you a medical document in the beginning, and I told you about the veterinary documents and how it's ruining our house values. So where are we going to send the bills to, guys? Because now they're not complying with the state. So I don't even know that it even needs to go to the Board of Zoning because they really can't comply with the state regulations. So I'm kind of curious where we go from here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am.
My concern.
Name and address, and you have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Once again, 262 Charles Road, Pataskla.
Okay,
Ohio.
thank you.
My concern is property value. I think everyone on this board will be concerned about your property value. So would you want to live in a zone where on the weekend, bang, 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 and you have to get up, go in your house and close your doors? Would you want to do that? So what you need to do is actually take yourself and put yourself in our position and make that decision. I think your decision would be the right decision. Because no one should have to live like that. We just had a holiday. We couldn't even not sit on the porch and enjoy our holiday. We had to go in. Would you want to live like that? I don't think so. So we really, really do need to do the right thing. We have codes. We have rules to follow. Follow the state rules. They're written, and they're written for a reason, for us to use. And we need to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, seeing none, introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion and roll.
Walther,
Yes?
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Consent agenda passes. On to reports. I'll be looking for tonight for a motion, 2 motions. One, I think BJ's working on the verbiage about the power show, waiving the fact that I can have campfires and camping and animals and all the good stuff that we have down at the power show that's coming up at the end of September. And then I'll also be asking for a motion tonight to move forward with the landscape plan that the gentleman has given us to landscape the new police station. So I'll be looking for 2 motions for that tonight and hopefully some discussion, obviously. Don't want to steal any of your thunder, Lanier, but I did get a call from the Lions Club. The Summit Station Lions Club has agreed to help Greg with his Eagle Scout project and pour the concrete forms for the benches. So that's actually happening tonight. They're getting together and they're going to pour on Friday. So I didn't know if you had that. You probably had that in your report too, but just wanted to make sure that. So the Lions Club stepped up to do that. And I think that's just about it for me. Mr. Barstow?
I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Zetz?
I have nothing as well.
Mr. King?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got your motion for you. I'll hand that down to you.
Thank you.
For the Power Show. A couple items, I'm going to cover some administrative, and then also for the Public Services Department in Mr. Haynes' absence. Budget update, not to take any of Jamie's thunder, but we are working to schedule individual budget meetings with each department for Monday, September 9th. We'll be going over both capital and operating in anticipation of the first budget meeting on September 30th with council. Related to the budget meeting, we're doing them now because I will be on vacation from September 21st through the 28th out of the state, and during that time, Mr. Nicholson will be acting administrator. Come back and have our special council meeting on September 30th then. As far as the executive sessions this evening, we will go upstairs for both of those. Mr. Zetz, we do have two separate executive sessions. Can we make both of those at the same time and have them so we don't have to come out?
I think we can, I think both motions have, the motions have to be separate, but they can be made at one time, and then we'll just go up for both reasons.
Thank you, perfect. So if we could do that when we get to that point in the meeting. From a public service standpoint, this year's road program, all the paving is done, and the chip seal is starting to wrap up, and there will be some striping done with that. We've been very satisfied with the outcome of those projects this year. Mill Street included some concrete work and curb work, which has turned out great. Much needed there for the drainage aspect of it. The Phase 1 and 2 Safe Travels Plan, for the most part, is constructed. There's still restoration to do, and we're still waiting on the pedestrian facilities to come in, but everything except for those has been done. Looks really good, and I've seen several people using it already. The signal timing has been completed through that. I shouldn't say been completed. First part of it has been completed. While going through that, all the signals have been timed. They're talking to each other, but there's some additional work that needs to be done. It's over my knowledge base, but Alan is working with the contractor to get that done here in the foreseeable future. By the end of September, we should have the results of our intersection studies. That'll fall right in place perfectly as we start talking about budget and capital improvement programs. And then Mel is not here, but we would like to request a street committee meeting for September 16th at 6 p.m. if possible. I know towards the end of the meeting, we'll start talking about upcoming committee meetings, but I wanted to get that out there, so hopefully we can get that spot reserved. And I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have.
Do you know what striping is included in what roads will?
Headley's Mill and Cable Road.
Headley's Mill and Cable?
You got it. Okay. I should say middle line striping, but there'll be stop bars and stuff on the other neighborhood streets.
Okay. And then I just had a note for Alan. There's the sign at McIntosh and Quarter, for McIntosh and Quarter is missing.
The sign for McIntosh and Quarter, the street signs?
Where the old schoolhouse is.
All right, pass it along.
Questions? Andy?
TJ, do you know if the 2018 street program got finished also?
It did.
And there was a outstanding question for budget purposes on that. Did we have an extra for carryover on that project, or was that done at the contract price?
It was done at the 18 contract price.
Correct.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, there wasn't any inflation.
No, it was done at the 18 contract price because they just weren't able to get it done last year, so they kept their prices and it was done at that price.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hicken?
Mr. King, both mine are street-related. The first one's just a comment. I think Mill Street looks pretty good. I got several comments from citizens on it today, so that was good. The other one is, Mr. Haynes talked about while the paving was being done, we were also moving forward with some crack sealing. I did see the tar kettle out and about today, but I gave him 2 streets in Brightwaters that just needed a quick lick and a prayer.
Okay.
And I didn't see the tar kettle there. That doesn't mean he forgot about it. I'm just putting that bug in your ear.
You give me those 2 streets?
South Fork Circle and White Path.
South Fork Circle. Okay.
And then he was already planning on doing Key and part of Shawnee.
Okay.
So,
Follow up with you tomorrow on those.
thank you very much. That's all I have.
Yes, Mr.
No, I drove down Headley's Mill on Sunday, and it was very nice. I thought it really turned out well.
Big improvement.
Yeah, and obviously, our access street out here has turned out very nice. That was a small project, so.
Very nice. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you have something else?
I just want to say,
Sure.
it seems odd that somebody comes in and says, hey, you ought to pave that street, and the next meeting it's paved. It
Government
doesn't-
works
usually does
fast.
not happen that fast. So that just fell, that just fell that way. So, but I agree, it looks good.
That gentleman's probably thinking he's downtown, man. Mr. Walther.
Just a quick question. We had some complaints earlier in the year from grass being on the streets and motorcycle riding and dangers of such. Have we gotten any complaints about the loose stone or any of the chip and seal?
I have
with
not
motorcycle riders?
I haven't received any phone calls about it. I don't know if Alan has. I know there were some comments on social media about it.
Okay, thanks.
Anything, Mr. Powell, did you have something?
I do not.
Okay. Anything else for BJ? Thank you, BJ.
Thank you.
Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you, Mayor. BJ already touched on the budget stuff. That is really the focus of our work right now. But on the agenda tonight is a resolution asking you to certify the rates and amounts to the Licking County Budget Commission for next year's inside millage taxes. It's the boilerplate that we have to give them every year by, I think, October 1st. So,
That's it? I received my financial hoochie bobber in the mail today. Thank you. I wish I'd have had those for Swappers Day, but
I'm sorry, could you what's a hoochie bobber?
yeah, the financial report for
Oh, okay.
2000.
Thank you.
For 2018. Yeah, 2018.
Popular annual financial report.
Yeah.
Also known as.
Thank you. Also known as a hoochie bobber.
Hoochie
Got
bobber,
it.
yeah. Anything for Jamie?
No.
I will like to have some of those for the power show, so.
Yeah.
Have plenty of them. Very good. Chris, what do you got for me?
Thank you, Mayor. Just got a couple things. I wanted to comment on the WRF construction loan application process. We renominated the loan for year 2020 because it's getting late in the year and we haven't heard any comment back from UGA, meaning they have not done the review yet. I also got word last Friday, the person assigned to our loan is retiring and she will be passing it on to another member of the UGA. It will more than likely not be reviewed in time this year. The good thing is the 0% loan is, that program is being continued into next year. So we renominated, you only get the month of August to do that. We did that as kind of a fail-safe. They've assured us that they'll still try their best to get the construction loan reviewed this year, but I'm not optimistic. However, the 0% interest loan will still be available next year, so the project should get continued as late as we anticipated. We got a call about a sinkhole forming at 319 Pataskla Ridge Drive. We couldn't figure out what was going on from the surface. There are 2 sewer laterals that connect to the sewer main in that area. We ran a camera truck through the sewer lines and there is no sign of any collapse at all. So we've been talking with Alan. We're talking about having maybe V4 come out and hydro-excavate the surface, see if we can find something, that an old broken field tile, something that's causing the depression. It's not very deep. It is next to the sidewalk. Originally, we thought maybe it was the sewer lines, but it doesn't look like it is. So we're trying to investigate that. I am kind of excited. On Monday, the entire systems team, Trent, Hal, John Burns, and Connor Johnson are all going for their first class Vago for the Class 1 water license. Something I'm excited about. I want you guys to get as many licenses as they can. It helps the department in coverage, makes them better at what they do, and it's just professional growth that I'm excited to see everybody being interested in doing. So that's going to happen. That starts on Monday. It's every Monday for 14 weeks before the course is over. Then they can schedule their exam, and they pass that, they'll be licensed operators with the EPA.
Does that help with insurance, licensing, grants, anything that, I mean, does it help to have all, I mean, other than educating our guys?
The biggest thing it helps with is coverage of our system. So we have to have a licensed operator at different levels be on site so many hours a week for our water plant and our wastewater plants. This license will make all 3 of these individuals qualified to run our water plants. So no matter who goes on vacation, who is the lead, whatever, our water plants are covered. They're working to get our wastewater licenses are a higher requirement. It's a bigger plant than the water side. But they're working to do that as well. Next year, these guys want to go into their wastewater 1, and they have ambitions of getting as many as they can get in. So,
Very good.
so it does help us in that.
Thank you.
Last thing I wanted to say was the move-in to the old town hall is complete. The unpacking is not, but the move-in is complete. The system team is excited to be up there. They finally have a space now. They used to be kind of crammed into the water plant. Now they've got a spot where they can operate out of. The building department was able to make that move in 2 days, having services down, and they were right back up and running again. So it was pretty impressive to move everything over there. 2 days later, taking customers right at the window. Business as usual for them. So that was impressive. If anybody wants to come check out, look at the new place, more than welcome to. We'd be happy to let you in anytime you want. Outside of that, I don't have anything. We'd be happy to answer.
Anything for Chris?
No, thank you.
I do. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so Chris, thanks for keeping up with the loan. Any word on our, the letter that we sent, or is that person handling that going to retire as well?
The person who handled that last year did retire. That's how we got this person. But no, I have not heard any word back at all.
Okay. Just a minor suggestion, don't forget to take the signs down from the building here, because people might come in and think that, I don't want somebody putting something in the window.
We will actually, we will definitely, that's a good idea. We actually have one person do that, and came in and
Yeah, maybe put a sign up that says, hey, move to, what would be 420? 430 South Main, so people can know that. And one last question, how's product?
Product's great. Product is great.
Very good. That new machine, really working well?
New machine, the operators have fine-tuned it and adjusted the polymer. The product is drier and stacks taller than ever.
Wow.
Wow, that's impressive.
Taller
Thank
than
you.
ever.
That was really descriptive. I visualized that.
Thanks, Chris. That's awesome.
I see a T-shirt coming from local.
Yeah, really.
Get stacked. Okay.
I don't think you do.
Anything else?
I don't see a T-shirt.
Anything else for Chris? All right. And welcome to your new home. It looks great in there.
It's coming along nice. We're happy about it.
Okay, we covered, Mr. King covered Mr. Haynes. Scott?
Thank you, Mayor. Two things from my report I'd like to highlight. At the next council meeting on September 16th, OHM will be here to present the draft of the comprehensive plan. The steering committee will also be present for any questions. I believe at the last council meeting, I passed out the draft on your dais. If you need an additional copy or have any questions, feel free to let me know. Also, ordinance 2019-4341, this is the rezoning for the Scenic View Estate subdivision. We'd like to see that remain tabled as we're still working out some of the issues with the sanitary sewer system. Aside from that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Walther?
Question for you, Scott. I see that you've got a BZA meeting coming up where they're asking for a variance from the tree spacing ordinance. You know, I brought this up a couple times as suggestions of taking those trees and planting them otherwise somewhere else. There's 40% of the trees that this variance would allow them to not plant, essentially, going from 30-foot spacing to 50-foot spacing. Is that something that you typically bring up in the BZA meeting, or bring up as a suggestion to these developers in each?
In the staff report for this, it is brought up as a suggestion. It's not codified, so we have no
Understand.
real way to enforce that.
Yep.
We do have what's called an ecological preservation fund. That this would be typically that if you need to remove trees of a certain caliper, you're supposed to be replaced a ratio dependent upon the species and caliper. If they choose not to replace those trees on site, they can donate the cost of tree replacements to that fund. However, that is at the discretion of the developer. So it wouldn't be like the sidewalk fee in lieu fund where it's at the discretion of the city administrator, their designee. This one is just the developer. So to answer your question, yes, it's mentioned in the staff report for that application.
Okay. I just know of a pretty good place they could probably plant some trees behind
Yeah.
us. So, okay. I do have another question, but I'll wait.
No, go ahead.
So I got another question. Over the weekend, I was actually out of town. It was brought up to me that there was a truck show that was here, I think, here at City Hall. Yeah.
No, back at the Capital City Chrome. It wasn't here.
It wasn't here. It was back there. Okay. So there was a sign out front, and I just have a quick question. Do you know of any sign permit that was granted for that sign?
I do not offhand.
And was there an application put in for it?
I do not know offhand.
Okay. If there wasn't one put in and one wasn't granted and it is seen out in the front, what is the typical standard procedure for that sign? Is it removed as soon as the city is notified about it, or what happens?
Well, in this instance, I've never come across a situation like this, and it was on the weekend, so no one from the Planning and Zoning Department saw that. If it were placed upon the front yard of the City Hall, we would probably remove it, but if someone applied to have that done, it would not be approved.
So in this situation, it was in front of City Hall, and so it would never have been there, it would never have been approved to be there. If it had then been placed there, what would happen? What would you do typically?
If it were during normal business
During
hours,
the weekend?
During the weekend,
Mhm.
there's nobody here to remove the sign.
So there's no enforcement there's nobody there, there's nobody that's able to enforce that, is what you're saying?
Outside of normal business hours, no.
Okay. That's what I wanted to find out. Thanks.
And in this instance, for years, they've had their truck show, which benefits Special Olympics. They've asked us they've put signs over, I think they asked the gentleman that owns the cornfield across the street, that they could put a sign there for their, it's a one-day show. So I was surprised too, because we have a pretty good relationship with these guys because they're our neighbors. So I think something just, and I wasn't in town either. I was up in Johnstown. So if I'd have seen it, I'd have said, hey, guys, you can't park your truck and put your sign there, for God's sakes. It's the city property.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm looking for is somebody puts a sign up there for a Sunday issue or a Saturday issue or whatever. We have no enforcement program to take that sign down. That's what I am understanding. And so I'm hopeful that the administration can figure out how to potentially rectify that.
Sure.
Okay, perfect. I'm not against the show at all.
Right.
It's not that issue. It's just that, someone puts a sign up there that's a 4x8 hand-painted sign and didn't get approval to do it, we should be able to take it down.
Well, and that's why I've asked, and of course, it's, have we ever had Steve come in on a couple Saturdays? We have, haven't we? Because, look who's abused it forever. I remember as a kid, the builder's signs went out all over the place on the weekend in the right-of-ways. You couldn't see to turn half the time because there's 8 million builder signs out. And then, of course, they disappear. As BJ says, they play the game. A lot of folks on the weekend abuse signs, and then they're gone on Monday morning. So,
100%.
I mean, I don't know how you get a.
That one was a little bit kind of, a truck with two signs
Yeah, that was
may
pretty
have
blatant.
taken it over the limit.
Right, they did.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
And they know about it, so.
That's all I need, thanks.
All right. Anything else for Scott? Okay. Lanier, what you got for me?
Thank you, Mayor. Got two things on tonight's agenda. The ordinance 2019-4345, last reading for the codified ordinances and amending Chapter 955 for the fishing regulations. Next one, a resolution, which is currently tabled. I think the final draft was submitted in the council packet. I'm hoping we can take that off the table today to get the first reading for the City of Pataskla Parks and Recreation Community Service Project Policy. Next thing I would like to touch on, this past Friday over at Volunteer Park, we, with the help of Jason Fravel with the Streets Department and another colleague of mine, we poured the footers for new basketball systems. So once I complete that process, I'm hoping within the next 3 weeks we'll have brand new pavement, crack seal, or not really crack seal, but filled in, cracks, and nice little basketball court over at Volunteer Park. So that's coming along pretty good. This week is the first week of fall soccer. We have approximately 430 participants. I believe that's a pretty big fall turnout that we have thus far. State Farm, Amanda Irwine will be coming in. She'll have a tent there. She'll come and hang out for a few hours, pass out some goodies. She's one of our sponsors this fall. And to touch on sponsorship revenue, this fall we've brought in roughly $2,700 in sponsorship funds, which goes towards parks maintenance and also equipment moving forward. The last 2 weeks have been great. Officially was the pool manager. We closed up on Monday. It was a good day. Actually had my first bout of breaking up a fight over at the park as well. Had those guys come up. So
Your inaugural fight. Congratulations.
watched it unfold. So it was actually a rainy day, and I was surprised to see it happening for a meetup. But overall, being at the pool, actually getting a feel for the operations, actually being the one to get both the baby pool and the big pool, running into problem solving, having to use my class and some things that I've learned. So I'm eager to see where we go from here. Smoking policy, Mr. Barstow signed for me to give to the Licking County Health Department. I met with Chris Saylor and Carrie McKee, who is also an educator there. Met with them last Wednesday to start the discussions as to what type of policies we can create for our park system in connection with their grant that they are writing. Brian McGuire, who is our board president, he has plenty of examples that we're going to review on September 10th at our regular scheduled meeting. And we're going to review those documents because Reynoldsburg recently passed a law to where their parks are smoke-free besides in the parking lot. So we're going to review those documents, get a feel for, and converse amongst ourselves which way we go forward. And I'm open to anything that you guys may want to add to that, since it's going to be a citywide park policy at that point. Couple events. September 21st, we had an event scheduled, or a movie night scheduled July 5th. It is now rescheduled for the 21st of this month. It'll be at Freedom Park, so I'm expecting another large turnout. Last year, that was our only movie night. We didn't have the trail there, and that was probably our best day. I'm expecting a lot of our residents in that area to utilize the path and come see a movie that night. Outside of that, I don't have any more.
Any connection with the Blue View Bait Company? Is that happening this weekend? Their fishing
Not with me.
Okay.
Not with me.
Okay. And I know, this isn't park-related either. I know if Alan was here, he would want us to mention it. This weekend is on the 7th is our River Roundup, where we're going to start at Foundation Park and work our way down to Dairy Hut and then pig out at the Dairy Hut. So there's still time to join us if you'd like. Throw some waders on, some boots, and help us get the junk and the crap out of the river. So, thank you. Anything for Lanier? Yes, sir.
Lanier, you talked about, I think you talked about Resolution 2019-050. Is that the one that you're talking about pulling off the table?
Yes, sir.
All right, so, and that won't be the first reading, that would be a pass. Can you, so I'm just going to fess up and say, I believe I've already read this before. I did not get a chance to read it in your, as the electronic version that came to me.
Okay.
So can you give me, like I said, I think I've already seen it, but can you refresh my memory?
Basically, from the original document that you guys had, and the reason we tabled it, there was a lot of verbiage in there regarding regarding scouts and Life Scouts, and we wanted to encumber that it was open to all service organizations or any group. So essentially, it went through there with Brian's help and refined a lot of the words and made sure that for anyone who's wanting to do a community project within the city, even in the parks, they would have to fill out this document, state why, where, when, and have a set plan in accordance with that will be reviewed by Parks Advisory Board and myself and also City Administrator, and then we would proceed with performing those projects that they would wish.
Excellent. And I want to thank Mr. Barstow, who was nice enough to hand me a copy of the legislation. Indeed, it does look similar to what I have read before, but I will take a look at it before that happens. So thank you for the summary. Thank you, Mr. Barstow. Mr. President.
Anything else for Lanier? Yes, sir.
On that resolution, Lanier, I noticed in the process, you guys have a 30-day window for the applicant to start their process, their work after council approves. Was there any magic to that 30 days? Was there any reason why 30 days was picked as the time when? Because in this, it does say, just so you read the rest of it, essentially, if they don't start within that 30 days, then council's approval is void and they have to reapply. Was there a reason to try to do that?
I think I've had 3 so far scouts that reached out one time, came to a meeting, and then I didn't hear from them again, and then they reached out 6 months later. So for them to start that process and initially meet with us and also you, the Parks Advisory Board, I'm really trying to, I guess, set the tone to say, hey, if you really want to do the project, you will reach out within 30 days to make sure that the ball is rolling, and then if not, you have to start all over again.
What do you consider starting? And the reason why I ask that is, and let me just back up, I've been involved with 6 or 7 of them that have come through, and typically the scout will get approval from the city and then go do fundraising and so forth, and get their materials together, and it does take them a little bit of time to do that. I've actually seen some of them take a couple months to just get funding put together. Is there a reason, what is commencing? What to you means commencing work?
Starting the fundraising, because a lot of them come to us and haven't started fundraising yet, so keeping me updated as to what fundraising you have so far, what people you have contacted and received maybe donation from, just to know that we started the project, we accepted the project, you've done your end of the bargain, now we can proceed.
Okay, so it's not necessarily physical work in the park?
No.
Great, that's
We
what I
gave, I
wanted to
think,
verify.
based on that, we wanted within a 6-month period to be
I
complete.
understand, thank you.
I think we've also, BJ and I have had Eagle Scouts approach us and ask, what would we like done for the city? And, if they don't get back with us, or follow through, then, we've got projects that Eagle Scouts could be doing, so.
I understand fully. There's just this gap of time that sometimes it takes the scouts to get their stuff in order.
Yep. And the kids.
To get out on the field and actually start digging a hole.
Right, gotcha. Anything else for Lanier? Very good, thank you, sir. Chief Brooks?
Thank you, Mayor. Our third full-time candidate passed another step of his background today. Only has a couple more small things to do, and hopefully he'll start sometime next month, or later this month, sorry. And other than that, I don't have anything else. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And our other two start when? September 9th. Very good. Anything for Bruce? Okay, very good. Committee chair reports. Mr. Powell?
Yes, we had a development committee meeting on August 26th. The bulk of our time was spent discussing the possibility of implementing design standards for the city. We started out actually discussing a possible minimum square footage. That led into design standards, and that we kind of realized that if our goal is to make sure that developers are bringing in a quality product to our city, that design standards could meet that, could force developers to meet that goal instead of minimum square footage. So we started discussing design standards, and we used as kind of a template the city of Canal Winchester. They passed some design standards, and I believe they were sent out to all council. So everyone should have got a copy of Canal Winchester's design standards. Again, the purpose behind implementing design standards is to make sure that we don't have developers coming in here and just throwing up cheap houses as quickly as they can to get out of here. This kind of helps put us on the offense, because for the last, as long as I've been on council, we've been on the defense when it comes to housing developments. So this ensures that we have a better quality, higher quality product. It forces developers to provide a little bit of variety in the houses that they offer to build. And so what we're going to do is, I believe BJ and Scott have been working on developing, using Canal Winchester as a very good guideline to kind of plugging in Pataskala in those areas and making this work for us. And we're going to continue having this discussion for design standards. I know Scott has a presentation that he's going to give us at the next development committee, which gives kind of visual examples of the things that are talked about in the design standards. For instance, when it says something like masonry water table and plinth must occur along all elevations of a vinyl-sided house. The height of this feature shall be at least 2 feet as measured from grade. That means nothing to me, because I have no idea what that means. So he'll be able to provide some visual examples of what that looks like. So that was the bulk of our conversation, and then we did talk a little bit about impact fees, and I know BJ wanted to touch on that real quick.
Well, I just want to keep impact fees on council's mind. We did have a discussion about some alternative ways to do it. I believe strongly that in order to accommodate the growth that we're seeing, we certainly have to come up with a plan to be able to address or start to address a portion of our infrastructure improvements. We're 30 square miles, a lot of roadways to maintain, and we're a community of 2-lane roads right now. So in order to accommodate and to be able to accept the growth that's on our doorstep, essentially, we need to figure out how we're going to fund those things. I do think that impact fees are a good way to go about doing that. I think it is a fair and equitable way, and it gives a developer an idea of what to expect, and they know coming in what to expect. I mentioned at one of the previous council meetings about getting direction to potentially go out for an RFQ for a impact fee program. But it's something, it's as we're talking about all these tools, essentially for managing development, I do think it's necessary to have a tool to try to manage our infrastructure improvements and the impact that these developments are putting on those, not just residential, but also any potential commercial development that we would see coming up. I just don't want it to fall by the wayside.
Right, absolutely. There, we did also kind of, in regards to impact fees, some concerns were brought up as far as how impact fees could affect the current landowners who are selling that land. That developers will in turn pass that cost onto the landowners, or say, hey, we're gonna get hit with this impact fee when we develop this land, so we're not gonna pay what you're asking for. If you're asking $500,000 for this piece of land, we're gonna pay you $450,000. So there was some concern brought up regarding that. So I agree that we still need to continue to have that discussion as far as impact fees and continue to hash out maybe some of these concerns regarding it.
Is that through a committee or
This has
Scott,
been-
or how do we do that? How do we keep it on?
It
the
is
front
with
burner?
the development committee.
The development committee,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
It is with the development committee.
I would just add one more thing, Mike, that Scott had offered to also list out developments in Pickerington.
That's correct.
Before and after development or design criteria were instituted, so that you can really see a big difference between what some of the subdivisions in Pickerington look like before and after.
Right.
And it is quite a dramatic difference.
Yeah. And I know.
He had offered that to us, but he said he would offer it to council.
Right, and I know that you sent a list of those out to, I believe, just the development committee.
That's correct.
But if you could send maybe a list of that out to all of council, so they could drive through some of those neighborhoods and see pre-design standards versus post-design standards. And I have not got a chance to look at those yet, so I can't attest to the difference. But Andy is, like he mentioned, he said there's a very obvious improvement between the two.
Scott and the mayor, too. Anything else, Mike? Anything for Mike?
Nope.
Yes, ma'am.
Nope, nothing for Mike.
Okay.
I'm done. Yes.
Okay, very good. Suzanne?
Yes, committee media week, Safety and Tech met this evening at 6 to discuss, to hear Lanier speak about the Civic Rec program, which is the on-site registration and technology program that he researched for the city. It was impressive. It has a lot of opportunities for data collection, liability and waiver collection, social media opportunities, as well as survey opportunities. Not only will it be good for the Parks and Rec program, but the city can also use it, as well as different departments. Thank you. And so the cost of it would be split between different departments. It was something that could create a message board or a hub for the community. So it was like, once we had a lot of questions, and it was impressive. Lanier knows everything about the program. He had a guy here to answer questions, and really, I think the gentleman stood up once, said something, and I think you already knew the answer to it. So it was very impressive. So we made a motion, Mr. Barstow made a motion to, and it was seconded by Mr. Powell, to go ahead with the program. And since it was $3,900 for the parks, right?
That's the year, that's the reoccurring
For a
fee,
year.
but yeah.
But it has the potential to bring our community together, be able to give out information, as well as kind of streamline what you're doing, collecting registration from different programs that you offer. So that, and as well as reach out to volunteers and members of our community. So did I miss anything?
No, it was, no, good. It was. It really has a lot of good attributes, and I think it'd be real value for the Parks Department.
And other departments.
Yeah, and other departments, but it's mainly for them. But yeah, it has use across the city. Absolutely.
Andy?
So this is still the one that you can't use, you're not going to use for soccer, correct? Is this one that you are going to use? I mean, last time we talked, it was kind of, you didn't know whether you were.
Can use it, but I will not use it just because the Stack Sports system is going to be able to take registrations and also take the liability out of my hands when collecting Lindsay Law documents, which are state law, Safe Sport, which is state law, and concussion as well. But I'll use it for softball for sure.
And pool.
And pool if we had
And classes.
other programs or, yeah.
We also talked about the fact that it has the potential for BJ and other departments to send out mass communication once we get our community registered for it, and for potential emergencies and things like that.
I'll also say with other departments, it's going to give us the option to collect payments for permits or right-of-ways or whatever with credit card, which we currently don't do. And I know the finance, Jamie spoke up, they like that just because of the internal controls that provides, so we're not handling as much cash or checks.
Just to follow up on, looking at the information that was given to us, the one-time fee, $5,600, and then you have a total of almost $9,500 in here. But it looks like the one-time fee should be included in that 9,600, or?
That's included inside of that.
Okay, so they show a 38.98 as the fee for the civic annual fee for the first year?
For the reoccurring, yeah. That would be the reoccurring fee, yeah.
So the one-time cost, what is that? Is that additional to the $94.99?
That's included.
It's included?
Yep.
Okay, so total first year is $94.99?
Yes.
That's just because of the implementation that we're going to bring a lot of our records that we currently have with our other system, addresses, anything that they need to build our website, and also to get data in their system. Yeah.
And they'll do that? They'll do all that work?
I made sure. That's why it's.
Okay, yeah, I know when we talked the last time, we wanted to make sure they did that, not you.
Yeah.
And then the recurring cost is the $38.98 each year that the city needs to pay?
And that price, they told me that it will not go up.
Keep that in
Is that in writing?
How- Over what period of time?
They said they haven't risen their prices for certain things in 15 years. So
That's a good
to
thing.
have it,
That's
I
good.
guess if they're not raising their prices on a yearly basis, I think that's a good thing.
And then last question, I know Mike, you got one. Do you have any idea how you're divvying this up between the divisions, between the departments?
Go ahead if you
We
want to.
typically, we'll look at how it's being used, and because we don't really know how it's going to be used yet, we got to figure that out.
Got it, thanks.
Try to do it as evenly as possible across planning and zoning, public service administration, and parks.
Mr. Powell, yeah, the system you're using for soccer, Stack Sports,
Yeah.
is there a fee associated with that?
There's no fee because I generally just use it for registering, not building teams at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think there's any chance you could kind of move it into this system eventually, or are you just going to stick with that for?
I would stick with that system just because it's specifically for youth soccer.
Okay.
If it was softball, different story, another league management aspect of it, but specifically for soccer, I'd rather, there's so many aspects, too many kids to take paper registrations and, yeah.
I will stick with that system.
Okay. Anything else? Any other committee chair reports? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On August 23rd, the Utility Committee held a meeting at 11 a.m. Really, there was one item on the agenda, and that was Scenic View Estates. To refresh council's memory, Scenic View Estates is the area just north, maybe we'll say northeast, maybe slightly, of Kroger's. They are large wooded lots divided into 3 separate areas, and they are actively trying to figure out what options they have for to install a sanitary sewer to make the development happen. We've been going back and forth both between planning and zoning, the utilities department, and this committee to talk to the developers. What we talked about at that meeting was we established some things that we think will have to be a baseline for this development to move forward. We talked about easements for maintenance, easements for the future if the force main doesn't work. The lower third of the development, so if you think of it almost like a Mickey Mouse head, the lower third of his actual face would have to tie into our gravity system. Minimum of 3-inch diameter piping. They proposed a solar-powered emergency generator. We said we felt that it should be either gas or diesel. And then a series of languages inserted by Scott's department, by Planning and Zoning, making it clear that the homeowners have some increased responsibility with these houses, because that's where the pumps are going to sit. Language that sets forth how assessments will be done if the force main doesn't work. Language that delineates some HOA responsibilities, and I think that's it for the most part. Scott's department and probably Chris's department have been in regular contact and discussion with the developers. In the end, I think that this would track similar to Heron in how it would roll forward, meaning if they agreed with the language, planning and zoning would have to make a recommendation to council. Is that right?
That's correct. They would have to go back to Planning and Zoning Commission for a recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission before it could proceed on to council.
And so I don't want council to get blindsided and all of a sudden you're like, what, this isn't a regular sewage system. Why are we being asked to do this? So I'm happy to talk to anybody to explain it. I'm positive that Chris and Scott would be as well. I think we're actively trying to find a way to make a development come into the city and think creatively outside the box, and at the same time make sure that we protect Pataskal in the future, so that if this system that they propose doesn't work or is in trouble in some way, that we've got some indemnification, if that's the right term.
So we're still waiting on information from them, correct?
Well, I think they have to listen to the items that I just said there.
Okay.
And then they're going to have to say whether or not that they can meet those. That's where we're at, right, gentlemen? Everybody on the committee?
That's correct. On Friday, we got a confirmed list from the utility committee stating, here's our concerns. So we shared that with them on Friday. Today, I received a call from the developer saying, we have some questions related to clarification. So Chris and I are meeting with them on Thursday to go over that list with them in person to say, if you have questions, here's what these all mean. After that, Chris and I are going to begin crafting the language to address all those concerns.
Todd?
Why don't they just hook up to the water and sewer like everybody else?
That's a great question.
What's their deal?
The topography in that particular area does not allow for them to dig because of ravines and such. Also, originally what the utility committee suggested to them was going up through Beechwood Trails. They did meet with, and then tying into Southwest Licking Sewer and Water. Council will remember that was one of the first little pieces where we agreed to possibly think we were working again with Southwest Licking Sewer and Water. However, the developer felt that the cost there was too prohibitive. Cost is a concern for them. Whether or not we think it's worthwhile or just say, sorry about your luck, is up to us.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not an engineer, but I've huffed and puffed up and down the hills in Barrington Ridge enough times to know that that's pretty hilly. And I think that they are they, is Barrington Ridge on, Chris, are they on city or Southwest Licking Water and Sewer with traditional or conventional system?
Barrington is on a conventional system with the sewer, or with the city. For
Okay. Okay.
And as I said, if you think about the three-pod concept, the one that is immediately adjacent to Barrington Ridge, originally they did not wish to include. They wanted them all done with the force main system. However, the committee felt that we, for a variety of reasons, but not the least of which was, we did not, it's possible that this system is cheaper as well. We didn't want developers in the future saying, well, I'm just going out here on Broad Street, I'm going to put in this force main system. We go, no, you got to come in into the gravity. And they go, well, you did it over there. Why wouldn't you do it here? So we did require where they were adjacent to that they indeed would have to tie into that system. Okay. Andy, you want to add anything to this?
I was going to say there's two other items. I think we made it very clear that this was a unique, one-time use of this system, that this was not a standard system in the city to be utilized in the city's utility, as a city utility. The second thing we also mentioned to them was the tree clearing. So one of the reasons that they brought forward to us was not only topography, but they want to keep these 5-acre lots or 3-acre lots or whatever they might be heavily wooded. And to do the sanitary at a very deep sanitary excavation, the trench becomes very wide. You end up clearing almost the entire lot to put the sanitary in. So that was one of the other items that I think we put in the language that said, look, you have to protect these trees. You can't take them down. If we're going to allow you to use this system, then there's some substantial penalties if you take the trees down.
Okay, thanks. I'm just curious. All right, thanks. Interesting.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other committee chair reports? When is the next buildings and grounds?
We don't have one scheduled right now, Mayor. Do you need something?
Well, yes, I'm starting to get some feedback from Branham Sign Company on signage for City Hall and also Old City Hall, which now has the Utility Department and the Chamber of Commerce and the Sterling Theater there. So if you could plan one and let me know, I'll make sure that I'm here and show you the drawings. And
You do anticipate, are those drawings done, or do you anticipate them soon?
Is it appropriate to give the drawings to Buildings and Grounds now so they can look at them, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I just wanted to know, like, how far out are you on having those? It sounds like you already do.
These are ideas that I want input on from everybody, and they're rough designs that Mr. Branham will then take our ideas and input and tweak them.
Do you think we could do that via email and then maybe bring that back to building, instead of having a meeting just to look over, we could then maybe have 3 concepts, 2 or 3?
Get you the concepts.
And we could tweak them. Okay.
I have them with me tonight. Who all's on Buildings and Grounds?
Myself,
1,
Tim,
2,
and Suzanne.
3. Okay. I'll make sure I get them to you before you leave tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Any other committee chair reports? I just want to jump right back real quick. Mr. King, how's the trash thing? Is that still on track for the?
Still on track, yep. They have the customer list. Letters probably have already gone out. They're driving the community. They picked up a map, breaking it into quadrants. They assured me that I'll be surprised how smoothly this goes, and I said, well, we'll see. Okay. But everything is still moving forward just fine.
I'll let you know when I get my letter.
Sounds good?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
On that subject, I have a couple citizens ask me some questions. The first one is, are the citizens required to pay for both of the different bins? Is it part of their rental agreement?
Yes.
Is it part of their monthly fee?
Yes.
Can citizens buy bins themselves?
Yes.
as long as they meet the qualifications for the company that it's going to be.
Pretty much they can use any bin that they want.
And can you refresh my memory as to the date of the switch?
September 30th. So there'll be about a 10-day period because the last pickup from Waste Management will be Tuesday, the 24th. Their contract expires the 30th, and we'll be going to Friday pickups, so it'll be October 4th will be the first pickup by Local Waste Services.
And as stated at the last meeting, I think we all stated it and we all know it, I've had 2 different citizens tell me, thank God we're getting rid of the small containers for recycling, and I've had 2 separate citizens tell me that we are buffoons for getting away from the small containers for recycling. So,
Well, we're equal then.
Always balancing.
Sweet.
seems nice and even.
BJ, on that, just, does the city have any sort of list or idea of the residential areas that will not be affected by this? For example, my neighborhood, we will not be affected by this. And what happened last time when we had the switch is that the new company came in and dropped off cans and took our old cans, and then they had to come back and give us our stuff back. There are neighborhoods in the city.
There are.
Mine, I think.
The Rona Homes off Summit Road,
I think
the trailer parks.
I think the villas. I think there's several. It might not be a bad idea to look at the map and say, wait a minute, don't go around snatching people's. They're dropping off.
Yeah.
And then the new company came through the neighborhood on a different day. It was
When they picked up the map the other day, the owner of the company actually came out. He wanted to meet me and Jess because Jess is kind of our contact.
Sure.
We sat down and went through a bunch of that, and the maps we have also don't have some of the newer subdivisions like Broadmoor.
Yeah.
So we drew those on to make sure they have all the street names
Okay.
and everything
All
for
right.
those.
Okay, thanks.
And please, if anybody hears anything during this process or has questions, please let me know and we'll get answers.
Okay, thanks, BJ.
Thank you.
Here we go, unfinished business. 4341 remains on the table. Ordinance 2019-4344 for a third reading.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hicken. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading.
Ordinance 2019-4344, this is the third reading, an ordinance to revise section 505.11C of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataska, Licking County, Ohio.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move we adopt ordinance 2019-4344.
Got a motion to adopt,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Hayes. Discussion and roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. Ordinance 2019-4345 for a third reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading, please.
Ordinance 2019-4345, this is the third reading, an ordinance creating, establishing, and adopting section 955.13 fishing of the codified ordinances of the city of Pataskla.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move we adopt ordinance 2019-4345.
Got a motion to adopt?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Isaac Walton would be so happy. Yes.
Ordinance passes. On a new business, ordinance 2019-4346 for a first reading.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Kathy, when you're ready, first reading.
Ordinance 2019-4346, this is the first reading, an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Pataskla codified ordinances.
Any discussion? Okay. Resolution 2019-050.
Mr. Mayor?
That is currently tabled.
And Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, I move we
Yes.
take resolution 2019-050 off the table.
Okay, got a motion to take it off the table.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion and roll.
Lee,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Okay. It's off the table. Resolution 2019-050, resolution creating, establishing, and adopting the City of Pataskala Parks and Recreation Community Service Project Policy.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2019-065, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Resolution passes. On to motions. Did you have a motion, Suzanne?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, not necessary.
Okay.
Under 10,000.
Oh,
I think
that's
for
right.
some-
It was
Yeah,
under
under 10,000.
Very good.
Right.
Just had that in the back of my mind.
But I don't assume this is Hayes Thunder, but we did recommend
Yeah,
to
you're
go
good.
absolutely to go forward with that. We thought it was a good idea. Linear's software.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve camping, campfires, archery, animals in Foundation Park for the annual Antique Power Show.
I've moved to adopt that.
Okay?
Second.
Mr. Barstow's first and Mr. Powell second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, isn't there usually another caveat on there? Do you remember
Well,
what that was?
I can't remember what
Veneers?
that.
We always forget archery, so I threw archery in. Camping, campfires, archery, animals, what else?
I was gonna mention camping, but you already said it.
Yep.
Okay.
I
Yep,
can't.
those are we always forget archery, and I always add that back in, so I can't think of anything else. Camping, campfires, archery, animals. That's
What about fishing?
Well,
What about
fishing,
singing?
It's allowed
What about-
now.
What about singing?
singing, singing, dancing,
I think singing should be.
Skating.
there.
food.
I'm halfway through a
We'll,
sweet tea.
we'll just stick with the motion
With
that,
the
that
basics.
I made. Okay.
Okay. Discussion and roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. This next one, I'm going to try and tiptoe through here if it needs a little tweaking. I need a motion to accept the donation of the landscape material and labor for the police station as per the landscape plans from the architect. The city will purchase the large trees for the project with a not-to-exceed price of $8,000.
And just for clarification, that was the proposal you had at the last council meeting. Is that
Yes, sir.
correct? So I would move to adopt that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion?
Yeah. So you talk about trees for 8,000. Is it within the plan, and it's been a long time since I've looked at the architect's plan, is it delineating locations, type, size?
Well, it is dropping the size down because, one, we don't need, when you get a landscape plan, it's normally, everybody wants to have 8, 10-foot trees and 3 or 4 inch caliper. Well, with this getting donated, the labor and the mulch, and the trees at probably 60 to 70% off their original price, we're going with a little bit smaller tree, 5 or 6 footers instead of 8 to 9 footers, which in this case, in 3 or 4 years, they'll be 8 to 9 footers.
And how does the $8,000 jibe with the discussion at the last meeting about a very kind offer of matching from a council person, I think, and also
Meeting, the number was a little bit different.
Well,
in donations?
That I recall at least.
I put not to exceed 8,000 because I want to make sure we get quality trees.
You're right.
And right now, we're at, I believe we're at 2,000.
That's right.
Andy, didn't you say you'd match 8,000?
No. That's what I'm qualifying.
I don't
I think Mr.
anticipate,
Hickens qualifying it for me.
I don't anticipate the trees costing even 8,000.
I just want to make sure we're responsible about what we say we're going to spend, and then not come back here and say, well, I'm at 8,000 and that's going to get these trees, and then everybody's donation's going to get all these little trees or so. I just want to make sure we're clear about what it is.
Good quality trees, a little bit smaller than what the plans called for, but not enough to where it would look out of proportion to the building. And these are pines and arborvitaes, which, again, not much difference between a 6-footer and a 9-footer, 3 feet, so.
And I would echo the previous comment from tonight, that if we've got a developer in the city who's asking not to put trees in, and he's willing to give us 16 trees, we all know of a place where they could go.
Right.
So, because we're gonna have labor lined up, landscaping lined up, that makes sense to me. I think that's good, being good stewards of the public money, so.
Might be time to do a little work here at City Hall.
We need 3 on Main Street, too.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
We need 3 on Main
Yes, we
Street,
do.
too.
We do need 3 on Main
There's
Street.
3 dead on Main
Yes,
Street.
we do.
Yep.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, Kathy, roll, please.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Very good, thank you. I just talked to the gentleman again today. Him and his company are very excited to do this project for the city. Very excited, so. Okay, on to additional citizens' comments.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. I have a motion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to move that the council direct the administration to let an RFQ for the study of impact fees.
Okay, got a motion on?
I'll second that.
I think Mr. Lee seconded.
I'll second that.
Okay, is that how you want it to read?
I think I'll make sure to Mr. King, you think that'd be sufficient for you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
So we'll get
okay.
the,
All right,
ultimately,
okay.
anything's going to have to come back to council
I know,
for approval.
yeah, we just want to get that started, yeah.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Lee. Discussion?
You know, if you're recognizing me, that is in front of the Development Committee at this point. We have not vetted all the issues yet. I know we're still working on that. To get an RFQ, I don't know if that is jump-starting the process or if that is somehow getting a consultant available for us to talk to also. Is that the process for getting the RFQ at this point? Or the purpose, I should say?
I would say it's jumpstarting the process to get proposals to put together an impact fee program.
Right.
And that is currently in front of Development Committee, and we're working through that discussion. I don't know. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Well, how's the rest of the Development Committee feel about that? Mr. Hicken, what do you got?
Well, I think it is in front of the Development Committee, but I think the development, and I'm not on it, so I don't know why I probably shouldn't say this, but I think they need to figure out exactly what they're going to be, and I don't think we have that in-house. I think we need to look at where that is. I was going to ask about an RFQ versus an RFP. Is there a reason why we would want to go RFQ? Does that give us some benefits?
The ORC requires RFQs for when you're seeking professional services, which is what this would be.
I'd say that's a perfect reason then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other input? Now's the time.
This would help provide some guidance for Development Committee when we're looking at the criteria that we want to establish for impact fees. So I can't speak for all of Development Committee because we haven't made any kind of recommendation or anything like that, but that's my personal feeling on it.
Mr. Hicken, you have
I
something?
do have one last thought, and that is, I have no problem seeking this. I have no problem with us receiving it. I'm going to reserve judgment as to whether or not I decide to use it or pay for it until I can see it. And not all, just acquiesce, or just not agreeing to putting it out and asking for it. I don't want anybody on council to think that I'm automatically 100% in favor of it, as we probably none of us are, but I just want to say that.
Mr. Mayor. No, I mean, I agree. It's not, first of all, it was not intended to supplant anything that the Development Committee is doing. It's an attempt to assist the Development Committee in figuring out how we're going to proceed with this, and if, as Mr. Hicken says, we're going to proceed with it at all, and how we're going to do it, and how much we're going to pay for it, if we're going to pay anything for it. So that's all it is.
Just another tool. Are you okay? You sure?
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, roll on the motion.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Lee,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Any other motions tonight? All right, additional citizens' comments. Anybody wish to speak tonight? You have 3 minutes. on any topic we've discussed here tonight? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Barstow.
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into executive session pursuant to Revised Code Section 121.22G4 to prepare for negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. Invited into this executive session are B.J. King, Brian Zetz, Bruce Brooks, Mike Bowles, and Jamie Nicholson.
Got a motion on the floor. Second. Seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Pickens?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Motion passes. What else you got for me, Mr. Barstow?
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into executive session pursuant to Revised Code Section 121.22G3 to conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending court action. Invited into this executive session are Brian Zetz, Chris Sherrick, and B.J. King.
Got a motion, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion? And roll.
Lee?
Yes.
Walters?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Pickens?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. We're going upstairs, executive session at 8:41.
Let me bring my tea in case you need it. This is why I don't drink caffeine after like 5. I'm used to just falling straight to sleep. Tonight. Is that wrong? Anyone, I swear, you smack the mayor if he has anything to say. At your table, say, I call bullshit. So help me if you say anything other than motion to adjourn.
He's got a call
Hitting you over the head. Well, that I can, I'm okay with that.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Barstow, seconded by Mr. Powell. Discussion and roll.
Walters?
Yes.
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Pickens? Lee?
Yes.
Out of executive session at 9:49.
Are we doing just one motion for the separate?
Well, yeah, 'cause technically you don't need a motion to come out anyway, so one will serve us.
I need a roll.
We did.
We
She
did
did it.
roll? Okay. I'd like to call a special meeting for Friday night at, if 6:30 works for everybody, I'd like to call a special meeting of council on 6:30 Friday night, September 6th.
And Kathy, I'll work with the mayor and we'll get you that notice like we need to send you.
Got it. That's kind of a motion, so I need.
You don't need
I
it.
don't-
No,
Oh, I just
I
call
think
them.
under the charter,
That's
you can
right.
call the
Just
meeting.
call
It's
meeting.
either 3 members
Okay.
of council
All
or.
right, calling a special meeting for 6:30 PM, Friday night, September 6th.
And then you just hope 4 people show up. You're not embarrassed.
All right? Everybody can make it?
Not me. I won't be here.
We will have a quorum in
I should be able to be there.
All right. Going around the room. Kim?
Me, I am extremely grateful to hear that the Safe Travels Phase 1 and 2 plans are not only nearing their end, but being implemented and used. That's a long time, something I truly believed in. I thank council for the support of that. I've seen so many people almost get killed at the intersection of 310 and Broad Street. It just, it was something that I thought was worthwhile, and I'm very happy to see that that's indeed coming on. I don't know if we need to ask for, I thought the determination about sound and firing weapons had already been made. And when we got the comment earlier tonight about the revised code, or actually that was the administrative code, I think, I don't know if we need to confirm that, or if indeed there is.
Well, we've already done some testing, and you know, to this lady's point tonight, you know, the Bullet Ranch was closed on Labor Day, so I don't know where that's coming from. If somebody
Could have been other firing going on.
yeah,
Very easily.
there usually is on the holidays.
I
People
know
are
it was
plinking
yeah.
and shooting
What?
and
The Bullet Ranch
and
was closed on
fireworks
Labor
and all
Day?
that kind of stuff. So
Get stolen from me.
Okay, So that's all. And
Just to clarify that, I guess, I believed that I thought that they came in and paid their fee to go to BZA.
Bullet Ranch has submitted their
That's
conditional
done.
use permit, and it'll be heard whatever their meeting date is in October.
Exactly. So they have submitted. Done.
okay, and that's all for me.
Mike?
I need to schedule a development committee meeting. Let's go ahead and try and do that the 16th. I know there's one at 6 o'clock for streets, I believe. So let's go 5 o'clock. Be to further discuss design standards.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Sign standards?
Design standards.
Designs.
Yeah.
Mr. Barstow?
Yeah, Bullet Ranch is closed on Labor Day, and as Ms. Gutentag pointed out, under the revised code, now she's got a cause of action because she claims the Bullet Ranch is outside of their liability, or outside of their exemption from liability. So sue them.
In state court.
In state court.
Sue them. Stop coming to us.
Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Mr. Zetz?
I have nothing.
Mr. Walther?
I just wanted to say that it has been a pleasure working with Tim and Chris with the district. And I think that I wanted to tell everybody that the district actually commented to me that they see this as a very positive step, this potential agreement.
Good.
Thank you.
Suzanne?
I have nothing.
Mr. Lee?
I just wanted to point out that the Bullet Ranch was closed on Labor Day. And a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Put your chair down.
I mean, yours wasn't there.
Mine was down early.
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Hicken?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
I'm looking forward to our Friday night.
Let me know when you should meet me out.